What's up, everybody? It's your girl Bree. Welcome back to my channel. I know this looks a little different today, but quarantine is not allowing us to obviously meet in person, and I have a very, very, very special guest on my channel today. So we're using our technology and using our resources and being innovative and being creative and getting the job done. You feel me? So today we're going to be, in light of Mental Health Month, we are going to be discussing mental wellness in the workspace, specifically from the aspect of an educator. And yeah, so I'm not going to waste no time. We're going to get right into it and introduce the guest of the hour, the speaker of the hour. Glory be unto the Lamb. Myiesha Taylor. Insert upload. Parade wave, like
with the glory to the Lamb, though.
So I'm gonna let Myiesha introduce herself, but me and Myiesha, we went to high school together, and then later on in adulthood, we kicked. You're not even like that. But we kicked it off later on in adulthood, and we have collaborated in a lot of different education spaces. So I'm gonna let her tell you guys about herself, and we're gonna jump right into the conversation.
Hey guys, my name is Myiesha Taylor. As Bria mentioned, I am an educator. I'm in my 4th year of teaching high school. I'm a composition teacher, so we just focus a lot on writing. My undergrad degree was in English multicultural literature with a minor in psychology.
Oh, perfect. I think on my channel I have already stated kind of my education background, but for those who are just new to the channel or haven't seen those videos, my undergrad experience is in elementary and special education. I have a master's degree in urban education with a concentration in education policy. This is my first year, going into my 2nd year of being in the traditional classroom, but previous to my traditional teaching experience, I was an SAT coach and a site director for a nonprofit education organization for 4 years prior to this job I'm at now, along with some other stuff in there. But this is my 5th, going into my 5th year as well in education. So that's just a little background on us. As I've aforementioned, we're going to be discussing about mental wellness in the realm of education, especially because education currently looks so different now because of COVID-19. So we're just going to be just having an open conversation about what our experiences have been, and how we're just keeping afloat and keeping sane during this time. So, Myiesha, tell the people them, what has been your most difficult aspect about teaching, and like how has that difficult thing changed since teaching online?
So I'll start with this. I feel like since teaching, let's put this out there. We all know that teaching in general is just a difficult job. I have about 125 students, so you have 125 different personalities, 125 students who learn differently. You have a lot of different modifications that you have to make for these students. And so that already in itself, being in the building with them, can be challenging. It's rewarding, but it's definitely challenging. So now taking that and, teaching remotely, that's just like a different ballgame. But I think for me, what's become so difficult in that is there's really not a lot of like check for understanding, right? We love that as teachers. Like, how are we going to check to really see if they're understanding? And doing that virtually is very difficult because it's like we're not having set class times. I can't be with them as they're doing their homework all the time. So I feel like that is very difficult because it's like I have lessons, I'm able to move on, but I'm not sure if they're comprehending what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Other part of it that's very difficult is simply the fact that I'm missing that interaction with them.
Yeah.
I'm not able to like talk with them, because that's what I love the most about teaching, like being in the classroom with them, making jokes, laughing together, like really learning together. So I feel like now it's just about grading work, but I'm lacking that aspect of connection with them, which is like my whole driving force in teaching. So I think that's been very, very difficult for me.
Yeah, I empathize with that a lot, like especially the latter part of your statement with that driving force portion, because I get so much energy from kids. So like when it's not student motivated, I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Like I don't care. And not that I don't care, because I care about the work. The work is important. And when I say work, I don't mean like the work that I'm assigning for quarantine. I mean the work of like education as a whole. It's important. However, like you were saying, me not being able to interact with students, me not being able to say definitively, like, yes, you have mastered um, this skill or whatever, or that you're even doing independent work for real. And that's not out of like assuming the worst of students. It's more so of like, let me be realistic also as somebody who was a student and is a student. Like if there's a way that I can work smarter and not harder, am I going to take that route? Am I really going to use my brain when the space isn't created for me to like really sit down and do this work? I'm not confined to a desk or a chair, or I don't have thought partners to think out my work. I can't raise my hand and ask a question. If I do ask a question, I have to wait for you to get back to me via text or email or what. Like it's just a lot of to do to just get the job done.
Right.
Even more so. So that's definitely been a factor for me.
Especially because this is something that we've never experienced before. And just to add one more thing, I think another part of that is like there are so many students who are facing challenging environments at home where there's just not a space for them to be productive. It's not a space where they can actually get their work done, whether it's because they're sharing laptops with a lot of their siblings, or whatever it might be. It might be a negative household, or parent-child conflict. Whatever it is, there are so many factors that are impacting them why they aren't doing their work or really getting their education in the way that they should be. So I think that's also such a very difficult part, because for so many students, school is not only just a place of learning, but it's their home. Like it's a place where they have friends and people actually care about them, and they, are able to get things that might be lacking in their household. And so I think that, that's such a tough part, where it's just like, miss, my parents, they don't understand me, or like, maybe they're not home because they're having to work and provide for their families. Like there are just so many aspects to it that's just very, heartbreaking. But I think it's just a difficult time overall.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think above all else, this time has taught me that teaching absolutely, or teachers are essential workers. Like
Absolutely.
for sure. And it's not ever that I felt that I wasn't making an impact in my career, but it was like seeing how much we're needed, how much this, like whatever services as a whole that the school provides is needed on a daily basis, was like almost scary to me. I'm like, oh, like some of y'all are eating twice a day because you're going to school.
Right.
Like, you feel me? Like, or some of y'all are like we have uniforms at our school, so it's like y'all don't have to think about getting dressed or worry about what you have and what you don't have. It's a lot of important roles and hats that educators wear, and they're so important to the lives of students and their families. And I'm also like have been reflecting on what has actually been important to me. Like is it important that a student in this time turns their work in on time at the deadline? Yeah, maybe not. Like it's just more room to be flexible. Like I care more that you have spent time on the work, whether you are texting me or emailing me at 2, 3 in the morning with your work. And that aside, I'm glad that you're working. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, if we were in a more stable environment, would I be accepting late work so leniently? No. But it's just that idea of accepting what is important and realizing what is essential in your work. And speaking of what is essential, is there anything now, like stepping into your next year of teaching, is there anything that you're thinking from an administrative standpoint, like what is essential that I'm getting from my leadership in this next school year?
Right. That's really a great question. I've actually grown, an appreciation for administration and how they've been handling this situation, especially my principal, because this is his first year as principal.
Wow.
So I can imagine like what he's going through, having to deal with all of this in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like one thing moving forward is for us to not stop the things that we are finding to work now, right? So I feel like we've been very involved in the students' lives, like not only counselors, but the teachers and administration, where like we are contacting families, like we are with, our students' statuses at home. And I feel like that is something that I want to continue, even if there is ever a normal again, right? Like for us to just be very aware, because although we are all experiencing this pandemic and now it's opening a lot of our eyes to the problems that our children are facing, I feel like a lot of this is happening outside of the pandemic for them, right? Yeah. I feel like as educators and as admin, like we need to be aware of that outside of the pandemic, right? And I'm not saying that they aren't, but to be as equally diligent as we are now, to stop that once this is over. And I think, just to understand the kids that we are working with, and you said it perfectly, where it's just like, okay, sometimes it's just like, get this in. No, this is late, but really understanding why this child isn't handling it. And I feel like generally we've become very understanding of our students and their issues. And as far as admin, to answer your question, because I kind of went off, I would say one thing that I'm expecting is for them, I guess I answered it, to continue to be how they are, now with the staff, where it's like, okay, there is still a standard, but at the same time, you guys are going through things. You guys are teaching our kids in the best way you can, and just to, have that appreciation, because I feel like sometimes it can be overlooked, but I see my other coworkers, like just how much we've grown as a whole in this time of crisis. So just to continue to build community amongst each other, in general.
Yeah, I think my answer would probably be the same, of just having empathy and like preparedness. Like it doesn't matter whether you're an educator or you work in business or it doesn't matter where you go. You are going to want to be in an environment that you feel like things can go awry and there's a plan. Like, granted, everybody, I'm not putting any blame on any administrator around the country, because nobody was planning for us to leave school 2 months ago. Nobody was planning for that. But just learning from where we've been and being able to like just have an innovative scope on problem solving. Like, okay, if this is not a solution, like, then what's the next best thing? Like, just be hungry for a solution. Because it's so easy to get lax and be like, okay, like I'm not really seeing any importance, or I'm not really, so much of our job is like looking for like retention of information, and we're looking for progression, and we're trying to prevent regression. And it's like, okay, what kind of gap is going to exist next school year? So I think it's super essential for us as like colleagues, and even from like the top down, to like, it's essential to have grace, like essential to have empathy. I think on a personal level, what would be essential to me next year is to, like I said before, really, really focus on what matters. Like, do I care as much that my students can write a perfect paragraph as much as I care about them being able to use their writing skills to communicate how the world is making them feel? I care about the latter more. You know what I mean? Like, I want my class to be transformative in that, you know, we can use these skills that we're learning in reading and writing, or even in their other core subjects or electives, like really having real life application. I'm not saying that education is not important, or academia is not important, but in this quarantine, was it important that they could find the slope intercept? Or was it important that they ate? Was it important that, you know, they had an outlet or somebody to talk to through just being bored in the house and in the house bored? Like, you know, like what's really important. So that's what I'm looking forward to next year, whatever next year is going to look like, because we still don't know on our end. But yeah.
So one thing I'd ask you is, you know, first year of teaching is tough, like tough, something just different. Now, I can't imagine teachers who are in their first year in a time like this, because my first year, I was done. I was over it. I was just like, this isn't for me. I actually, in my first year of teaching, I went to my principal at the time, and I'm like, listen, this job isn't for me. Like, you can make me a teacher's assistant, or like maybe
right.
or something, but I don't think I can do this. Like, I was in her office crying, and I'm just like, I thought this was what I wanted to do since I was in high school, but this is just not for me. So I know, like, first year struggles, it's real. So like, maybe you can share a little bit of your first year experience, and maybe what would you tell to someone who is in their first year of teaching during this pandemic, or maybe someone who is graduating now in May and they're going to be a teacher in September in the upcoming school year, but maybe we don't, like you said, we don't know what it'll look like. But what advice would you give to them if, you know, they're just in general, whether it's teaching remotely, but just during the time that you're teaching in your first year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really thought, like, ignorantly, like, I heard, oh, first year is hard. I was like, okay, like, but I don't even want to say ignorantly, but I was extremely optimistic that the first year wasn't gonna catch me slipping. And I slipped. Like, it was a woo. And I was stressed, and, you know, I teach at a charter, so my day is 7:30 and then I got after school activities, and I got a 40-minute commute. So like, it was a lot going on. I ended up like hospitalized in the middle of the year because I was driving to work one day and I just could not breathe. Like, it hit me out of nowhere, like a ton of bricks to my chest. Like, and all they could say was like, they took x-rays and all this other stuff. And then they finally said like, well, what do you do for work? I was like, I'm a teacher. They were like, okay, we can find you some anxiety. Right. So there was like nothing medical. They didn't even go on from a medical standpoint after that. They're just like, you're stressed out. So with a K, okay? And one piece of advice that I would say is even go in optimistically, but be open to, if challenges start coming your way, just have an affirmation within yourself, like, you know, I especially teachers who are believers, like, today is not bigger than my faith. Today is not bigger than my God, because you literally just gonna have to take it day by day, because you literally don't have the strength to do it on your own. This is like a job that you can just do by yourself or without collaboration. So like, one, just continue to affirm within yourself that like you are giving and doing your best every day, and your best is enough. Two, I would say ask for help. Like, find somebody that you can trust, and even if you're someone like I am that may find it difficult in a workspace to like find my crew, so to speak. But even if you don't have that solidarity with other coworkers, like, just know who is a hub of knowledge or a hub of resources, and be able to have their contact information. Ask for help when you need it. Like, don't struggle. My coworker says this a lot. Shout out to Bradley. He said, "Don't struggle in silence." There's no point in doing that. Like, it's not helpful to you. It's not helpful to anybody else, or any other responsibilities that are falling on your shoulders. Like, just ask for help. And I think my like final tip would be, and this is like applicable in the classroom and like during this distance learning, is just know when you have to establish boundaries. And that was huge for me, because for me, a life teaching without boundaries was me spending the first half of my first year staying after school until 7 p.m. making copies and getting all my lessons together and reorganizing my room, because I wanted the desk to be a different way for different activities. And those who know me know that I take teaching very seriously, and I put everything into my lessons, like everything. So it was me losing sleep and still answering students' text message and calls at 10 p.m. to ask about homework, or waking up to students at 5 and 6 in the morning asking about, can we wear sneakers today? Or just not having any definitive lines in my work. I needed to say, I'm going to shut off my phone at 5 o'clock. Like, after, or whatever, or 7 o'clock. Like, by the time I get home, I'm gonna give my 30-minute grace period, and then being able to express that to students. Like, hey, if you have any questions about your homework, please call me. Please do, but do so before 7 o'clock.
Right.
Because I cannot like intersectionality is so important, because I can be no less Black and woman as I am teacher. You cannot separate my identities. My identities are equally important, but like I have to have room to be human. I have to be able to take a nap, to cook a dinner, to enjoy conversation that is not bugging my brain out, like to watch senseless television on Netflix. So it's okay to take a break. Like, you're not weak, or you're not lazy for not working. That's something I'm still working through. But it's something I have to repeat to myself. Like, you are still doing the work even when you're not working. Like, resting is part of the work. So
that is something, or one piece of advice that I would give to educators, or whether you're entering your first year or not. Be good to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I would come to school back up.
Listen. Yes.
And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you can't even 100% like give of yourself, because you don't even have 100% of yourself back home. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot. And the kids, they feel everything. They know everything. Like, and they're like, yes, you don't look okay today. And it's just like, oh no, I'm fine. And it's just like, but you're not. I've had moments where, especially my first year, where I am in the bathroom crying my eyes out on the phone with my mom or my friends 2 minutes before I have to teach. So I'm in the classroom with my eyes red, and it's just like, girl, you're doing a lot, especially when I started grad school. And teaching and doing grad school, like, simultaneously, it's like, I'm stressed out about my grades, but then I'm stressed out about the professional development that I have to do with projects. I'm stressed out about lesson planning, all of these different due dates. And I feel like when it comes to teaching, it's not just being in a classroom on a board. You have all of these other things. And it's like you're in school too, because, you have to get ready for your observations. You have to finish, different deadlines that, they have for you. So it's just like, it's so much, but it's like, be good to yourself. I was one of those teachers where I just didn't take days off. I had all of these days, and it's just like, you know what? take a day. Like, if you do not feel okay, take a day, because what is in you is what's going to come out.
Yes.
And so it's like you have to be able to have a place of peace, a place of strength and rest. Like, really, I remember I would just feel sick. Like, in September, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm sick. And it's because, of different reasons, where not only with just the job, but then the people that come with the job, or that you with. So, like, personally, I felt very, I was very intimidated when I started working at this job. I was 21, like, fresh out of college, and the thing is, I didn't go to school for education. I went to school, I did English, multicultural literature. So no one was out here teaching me about classroom management, lesson planning, how to write a lesson plan. All of that was new to me. So I literally just, was in there. My school, they provided me with a mentor who was amazing. But then, there were some people that I just really didn't, work too well with. And it really caused me to feel less than. I felt like, what, all of these people are here. They have like 2 masters and they're doing this student education. I'm very intimidated by them. Not only because I was young and 21, but because I was this black girl too. And so it's just like, 1, I'm a woman. 2, I'm black, and then I'm young. Like, there were a lot of different things that were not up against me, but it just was the reality of it. And so I just kind of felt like, what, this is really nerve-wracking. So many people have so many years of teaching, like so many years of experience, and I'm just like, what, I don't really know. But I think now, where I am currently, I feel like it's because of the relationship that I developed with the kids. So even to this day, a lot of teachers are like, you have the best classroom management. And that's because I developed that relationship with the kids.
Right.
So, because I be going off on tangents. One, rest and be good to yourself. Like, that time, and don't feel guilty for it. Like, don't feel guilty, because the job is a lot. And 2, if you have someone, and Labria mentioned this, whether it's a mentor in the school or outside of school, of the workplace, like, have a mentor or someone that you can talk to, or someone that has your best interest at heart. I would say to, like, those 2 things are really important, on top of everything that Labria said as well.
Yeah, like that, and that triggers something that take days off, because when I tell you, like, you can be in, and especially if
I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off, because this one here, this personal, I'm like, Labria, take a day. Like, Labria would be in, like, she was sick. She mentioned it earlier. Like, yeah, I went to the doctor's emergency room, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to work. Like, what do you mean? I remember one day when, I think it was what you mentioned earlier, when you couldn't breathe. Like, teaching this girl, leave. I don't care if they have coverage. Leave. Like, I thought I was bad, but sis here.
No, she was really texting me like every 30 minutes, like, did you leave yet? Or I'm like, let me finish my lesson. Like I'm bad. But like, especially to like pre-service teachers or people looking to go into jobs, like, let me tell you something. Be real in those interviews. They need you. Okay? Let's get on some big mind energy right now. Okay? Like, the people who are hiring you in education, I'm not talking about any other job. Don't take this advice and go do big mind things in other places. Okay? Let's talk about school. They are hiring you because they need you. Because the principal cannot be the principal and the English teacher and the science teacher and the music. They need a team. Schools need a team. Likewise, you need to be under administration that you're comfortable with.
Yes.
And it is not the time, and this is, I guess, universal advice, but it's not the time for when they ask you, do you have any questions for us? Oh, I'll get back to, or no.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
Like, I had a list. Do you hear me? Like, this job I'm at now, I probably spent maybe 30 additional minutes in my interview asking them questions, because if I'm going to be spending a majority of my time here, I'm going to be spending more time in this building than I am at my crib. I am going to ask you some questions.
Yes.
Having said that, okay, you need to, my interview experience is was especially different than other schools I interviewed at because I actually got to talk with teachers who were currently working there and ask them questions, which I thought was dope and I appreciated it. And that influenced my decision. But I asked every teacher who I got the opportunity to speak with, what's your relationship like with administration? They check on you, they ask if you okay. Like, and you think it's so small, but when you pour your whole self out into a job and nobody checking in to even be, hey, how are you? And listen for an answer, that's gonna mess with your head. You're really gonna feel unappreciated and underappreciated very quickly. Going and you're looking for your teaching job, really observe if you can ask teachers questions, or like even if you don't have the environment where it's set up for you to talk to these teachers, say, hey, is there anybody on your staff that I could reach out to, or can I get their email to just ask them a few questions about their personal experience? Not only is that going to show initiative, but that's giving you a clear understanding, because what if a teacher is, you hit a blunt one,
yes,
and they're like, well, I don't like that. So I think you should be open and as transparent as possible, because you are an asset and you don't want to be anywhere that you feel bullied into doing more work than you're receiving compensation for. And compensation don't just mean a check. We already know there's no money in teaching. We already know that. But like, make sure that there's a reciprocal exchange. I felt not only my work ethic got in the way, but I felt this year like, because there's only 4 on our team, I'm the only English teacher for 8th grade. So if I'm out, it's like, and they don't, there's no subs. I don't have a co-teacher. There's no co-teachers in the building. Like, if I don't call out in advance, they're just not having English that day.
Wow.
So I'm thinking about all the consequences. Like, if I leave here, or if I call out this morning and it's the last minute, where's my homeroom going to go? They're going to be split into classes. Class size is going to increase to like 30 kids or so per class. And I have to backtrack on instruction. And today was the day I had ELA Academy, and that's for my small group. And we have a test the next day.
And to be honest, like, sometimes it feels like calling out is more work than actually an advisory list. Then you're like, okay, this is this class. Then it's just like so much where it's like, I might as well just be there. And I love that you said that, because sometimes like, just let me go in. But honestly, don't push yourself, to that limit where it's just like, let me might as well go in, but you are not good.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important. And then one thing that you said too, I'm not joking, but one thing that you said too that's so important that I cannot stress and emphasize enough is during the interview process, when they ask you, do you have a question? Let me tell you how I'm like, actually, I do. Because, my friend at the time, Shanisa, shout out to Shanisa, she's actually like, she really helped me a lot to get this job. But she's like, ask questions, because, I would be very nervous and like, I'm not sure. And she's like, make sure you ask questions. And one thing that I was able to ask and that, she helped me like formulate is just like, what things do you have set in place for new teachers to just like adjust to everything? Like, what do you have in place? And, they were like, wow, I'm glad you asked me that. We have mentorship available, our doors are always open, X, Y, Z. But those things are important, because the thing is, as Abir mentioned, you're needed. So you have to make sure that this is an environment and a space that can cultivate, what you're bringing to the table, but this to also help your overall well-being, because you're going to be there a lot, 5 days a week.
Good. And I say, like, the interview, like, I think especially as Black women, Black people, period, interviews are like a time for code switching. And code switching to an extent, because listen, I'm gonna be an activist whether you give me this job. I'm gonna be an activist in the job, on top of the job, on the side of the job. I'm gonna be me. So, for example, I received a tour from students in an interview, and they were saying, somehow it came up. They're like, oh, like we're stereotyped to be, the worst class in the building. So I went so I
Yeah.
I said what? I had to go back in, and when I got in that round table in the interview, I said, what's your protocol about teacher and student language?
Mm.
Because I can't be in an environment that's gonna compromise my morals. I'm big on those who know. I'm big on affirmations. I'm big on intentional language. Your words matter. And if I'm about to step into a school that feel comfortable talking to kids a certain way, you got me messed. It's not gonna be. It's when you get in those positions, that's dangerous compromise there. Because either you going to conform to what's going or you're gonna find yourself very frustrated that nobody sees your point of view.
Yeah, it's true.
So ask those tough questions, like especially if you're working. You know what, Myiesha, and we could talk about this after this call. But I feel like it would be dope to collab or maybe an ebook of like things that pre-service teachers should know, especially of color. Because I feel like we even going on a side scope besides mental health.
Yes.
This is like we got some gem knowledge, okay?
No, and this is so important too because, and going back to your point, now I remembered what I wanted to say earlier. It's so needed, especially because during that time where we have this thing where it's like I'm just trying to find a job, so you choose anything, but you have to be careful in what you choose, regardless of the salary, regardless of whatever. Because if you just go into any building and you go in your interview and they choose you, but no, you have to ask those tough questions, as Labria said, because this is going to be an environment that will either help or hurt your mental health. So you need to make sure that you're not making decisions just because you are in desperate need of a job. Because then it's like, okay, do you have a job and you're miserable, or do you prepare yourself to be in a place that will help you, or a place that is conducive to your mental health? And trust me, there will always be challenges. There will always be, things of sorts, but it's important to make sure that you are in a place that aligns with your values and a place that you're able to grow, because it will, impact your overall mental health. And I think that's something that we need to talk about more, right? Because sometimes people are like, get the job, just get the job, but it's like, but what is that job doing to your self-esteem?
I think to close out, if you could pick, and I'll pick one too. If you could choose like one big piece of advice for any teacher, whether you're going into your first year, you just finished your first year, you're going into your 20th year, whatever it is, like what is one big way to promote wellness going into this next school year?
That is a great question. One thing I would say to create wellness just within the classroom, whether it's remotely or not, is to create a safe space where the students feel loved, appreciated, and valued.
Yes.
Because when those things are there, you will see kids blossom. Like when kids and students know that you care about them, they will grow in a way that is just unexplainable. Like they just want to be heard and they want to be valued. And when you're able to allow students to, feel valued and, all of those other things, they will blossom and they will continue to grow. And I think that's the thing. Just let them be heard. And as far as the individual teacher, authenticity is key. Not only for you, but for your students. Promote authenticity, because there are so many, you'll see that so many students compare themselves, but even as teachers, we can compare ourselves to others. Like, oh, well, my teacher, she's really creative this way, and I'm not that. No. Be who you are. Be the educator that you are meant to be and that you are called to be, because what's inside of you is needed for your students. And they want to see that if you are trying to be like someone else. But then, on the flip side, that's the same message that you should promote to your students. Be you, be authentic, be who you are, no matter what your peers are doing, because you know what? All of you guys are needed in your own individual way. You guys are all valuable. So I think wellness comes from authenticity. Like, have that there, because then kids will be comfortable and confident in being themselves, right? A lot of students, especially in this age of social media, they're comparing themselves. which causes depression and anxiety. And right, there's this lack of self, like the sense of self that's lacking identity. So when you are authentic and you promote that, that's what you will see. That's what would come. So be authentically you, like be boldly who you are, and you will see that come out in your students.
Yes, good word. I think building on that, I feel like my answer was pretty much the same, but I think the biggest thing that I could tell any educator is to make wellness a habit and a transparent process. Like, you do not have to hide that you are not well. And I think that's what, like Myiesha was talking about, authenticity. I think that we can perpetuate the discouragement of student success when we put on an air like we have it all together, and that mistakes aren't good, and that like we don't fail and we don't trip up and mess up, whatever. And I think that's super important. Like, for example, if I go into the classroom and like I'm not sick or anything like that, I'm just weighed down by the heaviness of the job. Right. Just go in and say, like, you know, for our do now, we're gonna switch it up. I know that there's a do now on the board, but we're just gonna take 10 minutes for mindfulness because I need that. Right. And my energy is low right now, and I'm not going to. I never apologize for my low energy, but I make space for it.
Yes, that's good.
You feel me? So like the students know, like, this is where I am, and they know that they're important in my process to make sure that I'm bringing that energy up as my lesson transpires, you know. And just making sure that you're honest about that. Like, when you're honest about your own experience, you're less likely to invalidate the experiences of your students.
That's so true. So good.
So like, if you know that you struggle with anxiety or test anxiety, we've been students our whole lives. Like, there's nobody that should be able to empathize more with the student experience than the teacher. Like, you know what bad teachers and good teachers look like since you was 4 and 5 years old.
Yep, it's true.
So like, be honest about your experience and like tell them what works for you. Don't be telling them count to 10 if count to 10 don't work for you.
Right.
You feel me? Like, give them resources and give them options, but also like don't give them fluff that doesn't work for you. My students uncomfortable saying, "Miss Pringle, can I step outside? I need a moment," and they don't know what that means.
Right.
And they just and they come back like it's nothing. When you give people the space to feel like they can heal, they'll heal.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a lot of healing work. So that would be my big thing of just make sure that you are practicing wellness like as a habit, and you are like being super transparent about your process.
That's so true. That's very good. I totally agree 100%.
Lit. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for this special feature. If you would like to see more of Myiesha, which you should want to see more of Myiesha, where can they follow you and subscribe and all of that?
So on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/Myiesha Taylor, Myiesha Taylor, Taylor. Same thing on Instagram, Myiesha.Taylor. On Facebook, Myiesha Taylor. I don't know my Twitter right now because I don't really use it. So yeah, you can follow me there.
Cool. Then if you can spell, her name's on the screen, them. Okay. So no, please go follow her. She has her own channel where she is super into like living fearlessly and like woman empowerment, and speaks a lot about her spiritual journey. She's also a super dope dancer. Like, so she has what's a word that I'm looking for? Content. So be sure to follow. Also, if you're watching this video and you're an educator and you have not gotten your free copy of I Teach So I Pray by please DM me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, Creative, COLOREDCR, the number 8, IVE, and I will put that in the description box below all of our socials and stuff like that. If you're interested, DM me, preferably on Instagram, or just shoot me an email and I'll send you a copy. I hope that you have enjoyed this conversation. If you'd like to see more conversations like this, comment down below and let us know. And we will talk to you later.
Bye.